We'll be talking about some of the current trending tech choices, and especially as we are heading on in to Age of Overlord. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more on this content. We're going to talk about Spellbound over here, and suddenly how this card is starting to see a lot of play. Now remember, Spellbound says, all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls cannot be attributed or used as material for a fusion, synchro, exceed, or a link summon. Okay, well that's pretty straightforward and interesting, but why in the world do we care about this so suddenly? Well, this is essentially a nice little no button to our friends over at the Flunderies Dome. You know, especially if your opponent can't get the chance to, start doing tribute plays. Okay, well that's pretty good. You can do it to stop Purelies from being used as an exceed summon. You know how many times I have seen these purely players will start setting up, 2 to 3 of these monsters, and then you're like, no, we'll go ahead and Spellbound, and now they can't be used as Exceed. All right, and also making it so that your opponent can't drop Guardian Chimera on you is pretty good too. Actually, being able to stop some of the Chimera branded plays is actually okay. You're going to have to be careful where you're hitting it in that matchup because they can do some things, but it'll stop, typically everything on the field from getting its chance to do its thing. And you can also stop Unchained plays also from them getting the chance to link out with your stuff through Rage. Actually, this card has a lot more competitive merit right now than I actually kind of expected. And it's actually kind of cool to see Spellbound actually getting that chance to shine, because so many people are like, this card's not that good. And then you speed up literally a format later, you're kind of looking around, you're like, wow, Spellbound post reprint looking pretty good out here. If you picked up some of those secret prints, you're doing pretty decent right now in terms of, play wise. So what else in the format right now besides Spellbound has been discussed? Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill is the next little piece on the block of interesting little things. Now remember, Ghost Mourner, if your opponent special summons a monster face up, or monsters, you can discard this card, target one of those face up monsters, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Also, if that face up monster leaves the field this turn, the controller takes damage equal to the original attack. You can only use each effect of Ghost Mourner or Moonlit Chill once per turn. I still hate the fact that this card is locked behind a once per turn, but to be honest with you, with Valor not being locked behind once per turn, I feel like it's okay that this is. So what in the world do we care about with this? Well, Turbulence is a card. Contrary to popular belief right now, Turbulence getting the ability to set 4 cards through the consistent upgrades of the Diabellstar package is a real gosh darn problem. Well, Robbie, what if they do like Mud Dragon plays and, they try to stop this? A lot of packages have been cutting that right now. And I hate to tell you this, but if Rescue Ace does not get the chance to kind of set the full line of back row and initially start setting up its field, those set 4 cards are the thing that keeps Rescue Ace alive. And a lot of people are going to start to realize this as more and more playtesting is kind of going on. Imperming, Valoring, Ghost Mourner, and Moonlit Chilling, all of these cards, all of these stop buttons on this, you just have to be, careful where you're using your Mourner, because sometimes your opponent can open up enough craziness that they can set up multiple Turbulences, and that's an annoyance. All right, it doesn't always happen, but it can. All right, I think that's the most interesting thing about Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill right now is they can just bring out so much more, and you're just like, oh, okay. Next up is the Harpy's Featherstorm. Now, I want to emphasize this for the pure amount of Flunderies players that we have seen cawing around out here. Yeah, Spellbound might be showing up to stop what's going on with this, but Featherstorm is stopping everything else. And it amazes me that people are like, oh, nobody's playing Featherstorm in the main. It's always post-sign. Well, I hate to tell you this, but cards starting to show up a lot more now. So remember, if you control a Windwing Beast monster, until the end of this turn, negate any monster effects your opponent activates. And if you control a Harpy monster, you can activate this card from your hand. We're never doing that. And if this card in its owner's spell and trap card zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you add a Harpy's Feather Duster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You know how many times that bottom effect actually comes up. It actually does. It's actually kind of insane to me that Konami has left this floodgate alone for this entire time. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of getting Featherstormed, as you shouldn't be either, but this is probably the last remaining thing besides N-Pen that's actually keeping Flaunderies on the map. You are going to have to play around this, and I hate to tell you this, that's probably not going to happen. You know, Flaunder's already setting up and playing the game on your turn, and they just hit you with a rolling negate, and then, you know, those Mega Ryza, Apex Avion, you know, any sort of back row that you might be setting up to. So it's not a fun time with this. But this is definitely the card that is going to ruin a lot of people's days, especially kind of going forward here as we continue to see more cacaws and more birds kind of floating around out here. I wish I had an easier time for you out here, but it's apparent that people just don't want to learn how to play against Flunder, so, you know, screw you. You can just keep losing to Featherstorm for everything that's going to keep on happening for this format. Alright, next up is the Sinful Spoils of Subdiversion Snake Eye. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with this card, even though I think this card is pretty cool for what it does, but this card is so simple. You can target one face-up monster on the field. Anything. Alright, anything. Place it face-up in the owner's spell trump card zone as a continuous spell card. So it turns it into a Crystal Beast. Okay. You only activate one Sinful Spoils of Subdiversion Snake Eye per turn. Why in the world does this matter? Well, as the Diabellstar package does kind of continue to grow out here, more and more people kind of look to the other utility options that the rest of the deck tend to have, and they look at this card and they go, hey, you know what? We can use this as a side deck option to out something that's potentially an issue. Your opponent's got a 4-negate Appaloosa on the field. Well, let's go ahead and Subdiversion it off of the field and Crystal Beast it. Alright, and before you ask, no, the ruling is those link arrows do not turn the zones while it's in the spell trap card zone into monster zones above it. I know a lot of people are going to be asking that. That would be a hilarious, fun interaction with this and would potentially change a lot of the way that I think people would look at this card. But no, that is not the case. I really wish it did work that way, but you know, we're not ready for that yet. I don't think that'd be that hard to understand. But you just have to make a generic ruling. Either way, we're not dealing with that at this point in time. But you have a Rising Tech Choice option for the side deck. It's not going to be crazy by any stretch of the imagination, but you know what? People are going to want to look at this and go, "Hey, you know what's going on here? You know, do we want to play this or what?" Honestly, I think it's a little bit miss, but you know what? People will try it. And then we have Ken and Gin, the Dragon Warrior Squad. Now, for those of you that have not seen the chatter that has been going on about these cards, so many competitive players have been looking at these two commons and going, these are some of the stupidest cards that we have seen in a very long time. And I agree with you, 100%. Now that we've seen, you know, the thrust and talents interactions that these two cards can kind of interact with, they're kind of crazy. But you're still paywalled behind them being warrior monsters that are light. So you're going to have to find ways to kind of to circumvent that. You know, you're effectively dedicating some sort of normal summon to this that maybe you wouldn't be able to do. And I've also heard the argument, well, you know that thrust and talents aren't searchable. Well, talents is in fact searchable via the thrust, and Pot of Prosperity still does exist. So, I mean, technically, we are making an argument for this. And, of course, you know, the play lines with Dark World for this just kind of get more insane. I actually find it funny that more and more people continue to shout Dark World at the top of their lungs. And, honestly, it does seem like these cards tend to be adding in a lot more flair to a lot of the already existing ideas. So, yeah, these cards are stupid good. If they'll actually see competitive merit, though, we'll have to wait and see. I'm kind of curious myself. So what do you guys think about these tech choices right now? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons! Thank you!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.